Have y'all ever wondered what the most commonly used psychoactive drug on the planet is? The answer is caffeine. I'm a single mom. I work a couple jobs and now I'm going back to school, so I rely on caffeine to get throughout my day, and a lot of it. I also worry about my health, and that's led me to want to know just how exactly caffeine works on my body and brain. Now I'm going to educate y'all. There's 3 main chemicals in the brain that caffeine affects. So we're going to talk about adenosine, and then we'll talk about adrenaline, and lastly we'll talk about dopamine. We're going to start with adenosine. Mr. Bruno Debach explains in an online article titled How Drugs Affect Neurotransmitters that adenosine is a neurotransmitter that has a specific receptor. When the adenosine bonds with those receptors, it causes your brain functions to slow down. When brain function slows down, it causes people to become drowsy. Now, caffeine looks like adenosine to the brain, so the brain allows the caffeine to bond with those receptors. Now, this blocks adenosine, so you don't get sleepy, but then it also has the opposite reaction when it bonds. Instead of slowing down brain function, it speeds everything up. And that'll close us out for adenosine and move us straight into adrenaline. Adrenaline is the next chemical. We have an article called Caffeine's Effects on the Pituitary Gland, written by Dr. Leah DiPlacido, where she explains that the pituitary gland senses the increased brain activity caused by the caffeine bonding with those receptors, and it thinks an emergency is going on. So its response is to start pumping out adrenaline. Adrenaline is what we attribute that fight or flight reflex to. So caffeine causes us to be more alert in that aspect, but at the same time, if you've ever had that jittery feeling after consuming some caffeine, it's because you have too much adrenaline pumping through your body. Now that we've talked about adrenaline, we're going to move on to the last chemical, and that is dopamine. There's a site, science.howstuffworks.com, and this guy, Marshall Brain, along with Charles W. Bryant and Matthew Cunningham, wrote about how dopamine affects pleasure centers in your brain. Dopamine is a chemical in the brain. Caffeine, when it's introduced into your body, it slows the rate at which dopamine is reabsorbed. And that makes people happy because it raises that dopamine level. That's also why some people think caffeine's addictive. Because when, like cocaine and heroin, when your dopamine levels rise, you get happy, and when that caffeine or dope or heroin leaves your system, it makes your body crave that happy feeling again, so you want to take more and more caffeine. Now that we have discussed the brain chemicals, caffeine effects, we talked about adenosine, adrenaline, and dopamine. I hope you guys are educated on how caffeine affects your brain. Not that all drugs are bad, and that is a good thing, especially because so many of us depend on it daily.